Welcome back to a series so strong, even Muscle Man subscribed. In today's video, Hassan is once again trying to rewrite history by lying about his unhinged tweets. Asmongold is calling out Hassan once again for being a massive hypocrite. Anisa Jomha and Anisa's wife Idubbbz are back completely humiliating themselves. Destiny is being completely unhinged while beefing with Hassan. Ethan is calling out Philip DeFranco for not speaking out against Hassan, and a bunch of more updates. Subscribe so Netflix gives me a contract already. We're creating cinema and you don't have to wait 500 years for an episode. Jelly, jelly, jellywig.
Let's up those numbers!
Now let's begin with Hassan trying to rewrite history. Basically, in the past, Hassan tweeted out a gun at a US senator as an obvious threat, and now he's trying to lie about it. Hassan reminisces about his Tom Cotton shotgun tweet, tells people to stop concern trolling about it.
I'm showing you right now, this illegal, okay? It's just like, it's so funny that like all of the people who think the peak of comedy is like saying the N-word will unironically look at stuff like this and to this day still go, this person wanted to assassinate a sitting senator. He did a death threat to a sitting senator. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. What do you mean? Why are you fucking concern trolling? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, for someone who loves to talk about context, he sure loves to leave it out. So obviously, if it was a random like toy gun or a random gun, obviously that wouldn't make any sense. But that was specifically used in an assassination. You knew that, and you specifically posted this at Tom Cotton, who said something you didn't like. It is obviously a subtle threat implying someone should go and assassinate this guy. I mean, classic Hassan. This is just the standard Hassan playbook. Have the plausible deniability every single time while saying and doing the most unhinged shit, right? Also, this is during a time when people are being like these random vigilantes, taking stuff into their own hands, not following the law, and, you know, trying to assassinate people. Even the current president was about to be assassinated like twice or something. So it's just so dangerous to, you know, put forward this type of a dialect or language or, you know, even tweets or whatever. Only idiots with low IQ will believe this kind of gaslighting. You just described his entire audience. Right, so remember last time how Hassan was actually calling out Ethan because Ethan said that he's considering that he's going to start multi-streaming to Kick, right? Ethan currently streams on YouTube. He's obviously not going to go to Twitch because it's anti-Semitic as shit and he hates Dan Clancy as well. So he's thinking of multi-streaming to Kick. So Hassan called him out for being a hypocrite because he did used to criticize him or whatever. Asman responded here, calls out his virtue signaling.
Is there anything that these dudes believe in? Anything at all? It's literally a platform designed to bring in more people to the online, unaccountable cryptocurrency casino.
I don't think that Hassan is in a position to judge people in this situation, because isn't Amazon part of the Amazon's a target of the pro-Palestinian boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. And like, you're staying on Twitch, you're not leaving Twitch. So what's going on? How are you going to criticize Ethan or Mr. Beast for going on Kick when it's like, and which one's worse? Crypto gambling or bombing civilians and children in hospitals? And you're using Twitter, who you say Elon Musk is a Nazi. So you're using a Nazi platform constantly. I hate this like weird virtue signaling thing that happens where a person decides to do something with a place like Kick or Rumble or some other, brand or something like this, and they're seen as a bad person, but their own behavior betrays every single viewpoint that they have. But that's different. Oh, that's different.
Yeah, honestly, Hassan might be top 10 influencer hypocrites because if there was an ethical line, right? How do you draw the line at gambling? But terrorists are fine. So, you know, spinning some slots, that is like extremely morally bankrupt. How could they do that, guys? But bombing civilians and kidnapping people and raping kids and, you know, using them as human shields and shit like that, that is completely okay. So, like, that just doesn't make sense. That doesn't compute in anybody's head. I'm perfectly fine with people not liking gambling or drawing a moral line. That's completely fine, right? But then you gotta be somewhat consistent, somewhat commonsensical because, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. And I feel like you gotta realize like how bad this situation has gotten if lefty Ethan actually has to go to Kick, right? Because Twitch is actually so bad. It is literally so bad that it has convinced Ethan that Kick is now the only option besides YouTube or whatever for multi-streaming and to grow his audience or whatever. He will pretend to care, you know, pretend to virtue signal until it actually inconveniences him, right? So he will, you know, stop drinking Diet Coke or, you know, boycott all these things that he doesn't actually use or whatever. But then, you know, he'll have no problem saying like free Palestine. But then when it comes to actually stopping streaming on Twitch, stopping supporting Amazon, shit like that, that's when he can't do it, because that actually, you know, affects his income. That actually significantly damages him. So he's not going to do that. And then these are the same people who expect Hila to like go to jail and not to, you know, join the IDF or whatever. Of course, she's not going to do that. All right. Like, you're not going to give up your entire life for that shit. And you know, the best part, the absolute funniest thing, there was actually a guy who said, okay, I'm not joining the IDF. I'm going to prison. Right. And Noah Samson quote tweeted this person and actually started morally grandstanding, saying, oh, wow, I can't believe we're congratulating this guy for doing this. This is the bare minimum, guys. They will still criticize you. They will still absolutely go in on you, which is why I'm saying there is no point in trying to appeal to these people. All right, they will eat you up no matter what you do. All right, you can go to the very extreme and they will want you to take another step further. Okay, so if you missed last video, basically Hila responded to Hassan's apparent call to violence against her. Well, Asmongold has responded talking about it now. Asmongold talks about the worst thing that could happen to Hassan's career.
Girl bossing genocide defense.
One of the worst things that could ever happen to Hassan would be for there to be peace between Palestine and Israel, because then he would lose his defense that he has for everything. He's criticized for something and he says, oh no, but there's a genocide. But there's a genocide. Oh no, what's this? Yeah, he'd have no content. Yeah, that would be it. You'd be done.
Yeah, some would say it would be over, possibly done, maybe even finally done or finally over. But I've said this before, Hassan benefits off of this war. The Israel-Palestine conflict has made Hassan so much money, it is actually unreal. And this man basically relies on these things. He relies on the emotions of these hurt people, and he exploits it for his own financial gain. It is really disgusting if you think about it. And all of these people, the Hassan orbiters as well, they will happily raise money for their own lawsuits, right? Apparently their own sort of personal situations are more important than the lives of like civilians in Gaza and shit like that, right? So it just shows you how much they stand by their own cause. They would rather you donate money to them, donate money to the multi-millionaire Twitch streamer than, you know, Gaza or whatever. Somebody just responded, Jews! And we just got Hassan going absolutely soy face. Moving on to Anisa Jomha. That's right, she is officially back. And guys, she has a big announcement coming later today. What could this possibly be? They could not possibly get humiliated any further. But don't you worry, it is the case. People responded, please let it be a divorce. That would actually set Ian free, bro. You're quitting OnlyFans? Oh, she's changed. Please let it be you and Ian are suing H3 because he hurt your feelings. That would backfire very hard. You unlock Ian's pee-pee from the cage? Oh my god. Are you going to apologize for, you know, taking money from charity, all this harassment towards Ethan? Ian is pregnant. I would actually believe that, actually. Ian started his own OnlyFans? My god, I would not put it past that guy. That guy's hitting rock bottom. So Ethan responds here absolutely memeing, saying, Creator Clash 4. Imagine after all of this, after these failed events and absolutely losing money for charity, they come back with another event, bro. That is diabolical. Dear God, don't tell me she's pregnant. Oh my God. That is, bro, that would be the top 10 worst nightmares for Ian. Is the succubus going to give Idubbbz his soul back so he isn't so lame? So this is an important thing to keep in mind. Basically, people were calling her a succubus, right? And she has leaned into this now. In true succubus fashion, I'm announcing my relaunch. You can subscribe now. Lots of more photo sets to come. Ladies and gentlemen, the news is true. She has relaunched her OnlyFans. And I assume this is because they have absolutely taken a massive financial hit by the whole Creator Clash 3 thing, and Idubbbz losing 90% of his audience essentially, and yeah, their podcast failing, they're in the basement, they can't move out, they're trying to do anything to survive now, and this seems like the last ditch strategy to basically stay afloat. And yeah, this is just pimping out your wife again. Absolutely diabolical. Then she replied to herself with the OnlyFans link, 40 likes. Interesting. We got Male Slayer saying, "Yas, we are so back." Now we got Idubbbz responding, "I love succubi. Sorry to those who have never experienced the love of a succubus." Dude. Are you kidding me right now? This guy is engaging in the most degrading humiliation ritual in all of mankind, bro. Bro is so absolutely pucked. It is actually insane. Brother, any self-respecting man would have left ages ago, but this guy is a hollow version of his previous self. He's completely gone. We got Sensitive Society. This is so hot. Please take all my money. Brother, you need to be investigated by the FBI. What the fuck is this, dog? Come on. We caught him in 4K, fellas. Caught him in 4K. Oscar with the legendary troll here, of course. Whenever you're having a bad day, remember some people have their wife on OnlyFans. That is a different level of hell, dude. Why do you humiliate your husband at every chance? That is her purpose. That is her nindo. That is her ninja way. You know, that is like Naruto tries to become Hokage and Anisa tries to humiliate Idubbbz. That is like the reason for her existence. Sounds like Idubbbz YouTube money has dried up. I want to die, dude. I can't believe this fall off needs to be studied. I cannot believe we have gotten to this level. Now that's a bad unboxing. Put it away. If you didn't know, one of Idubbbz's iconic series was Bad Unboxing back in the day. And yeah, this is just a funny joke. Lamau, yes, humiliate him further. Film content with Leafy. This is another reference. Basically, Anisa used to be thirsting after Leafy, another commentary YouTuber, which is very interesting, of course. But I would say at this point, Leafy's kind of out of the picture. The willing participant here would be Hassan, who has actually dated Prawn Stars before, so he loves being cucked as well. So yeah, maybe you'd make a perfect fit here. So you return to being a hoe after you couldn't make it in the real world, lol. And she's the one who says, commentary YouTubers don't know how to work a real job.
Commentary YouTubers have no idea what it is to work a normal job.
Oh my god, dude, that was an insane drama. I can't believe she even said that. And she was like, well, actually, I worked at, what was it, Dairy Queen or something like that? And she's like, yes, we have so much business experience. We failed multiple charity events. Our business experience, guys. The love of a succubus, and we just got them broke and in despair in the basement, bruh. Domain expansion, infinite cuckery. You're a shell of a man, and I'm astonished you have any shred of dignity left. He does not. He does not. No way. Sensitive Society again. I'm going to buy all of her pigskins. Somebody get this man. Somebody get your mans, bruh. What are you doing, dog? So anyway, somebody quote tweeted saying Idubbbz's wife went back to be an OF ho. You can't make this up. And then Anisa responded, 90% of the fun of continuing to be online is getting these losers to foam at the mouth anytime I do anything. They never figure it out either. Anisa, I would like to break this to you. I am getting paid for this. I'm legitimately getting paid to laugh at you. It is wonderful entertainment. Honestly, this shit is better than a TV show. We love doing this, all right? We are not losing anything by doing this. In fact, I am benefiting in literally every way humanly possible. Also, you say you're having so much fun continuing to be online, but then you constantly tweet about, oh, well, actually, I'm leaving. I'm touching grass, guys. I'm trying to stay offline right now, you know, stay away from all the haters and shit like that. I don't know, it just feels like massive copium to me. She responded again, people writing paragraphs in my replies proving my point. I struck a nerve. Male Sir responds, he's promoting you, let's go. That's freaking awesome. Just had to make the incels mad. Oh my god, have you been talking to Casey Tron here? Holy shit, that's like her signature ultimate move, man. Made the incels mad enough to put it onto his Reddit, lol. Oh no. You know OnlyFans is one of the biggest contributors to IPAC, right? You working on OF means anyone buying on your account directly supports killing Palestinians. I thought you were against this, was I wrong? Ooh, a little bit of a moral conundrum here. Ay, ay, ay. This seems like a little bit of a situation. Do you guys think she's going to quit OnlyFans, guys, to, you know, support Palestinians, to support her cause? Do you think she'll actually stand by, you know, what she believes in, you know, the BDS list, boycotting stuff? Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. When it affects their bottom line, they're not actually going to do any of this. Like Hassan, the same thing. He's not going to quit Twitch, even though Twitch, you know, is owned by Amazon, and Amazon's on the BDS list, which contributes to, you know, the war, of course. Oh my god. Listen here, little baby. You're gonna get a lot of hurtful and degrading comments, but that ain't what I'm about. let me just say, you are perfect the way you are. You hear me, sugar? You deserve anything and everything you want. Stay safe for me, baby girl. Right, another very sane individual right here, fellas. Very sane individual. OnlyFans consumers right here. You're guilty of the crime of being a woman on the internet. Yes, that is the issue. That is why everybody is mad, because she's a woman, guys. Yes, you totally nailed it. And then she tweets this. The reality is, being an apathetic, racist, angry loser online is only good for quick internet points and nothing else. So you don't have to stay online in your echo chambers, so you don't face the reality that no one likes you aside from other faceless chuds. Okay, that's a nice story you've cooked up there. But that's why you're so obsessed with us. You don't want that to be the case, but it is. Eventually, you all eat each other for attempting to pursue happiness later on, and most of you will cower back into your nasty internet holes. You're mad we crawled out and you can't. Ladies and gentlemen, if copium was a tweet. First off, I think it's a really bad strategy just labeling everybody as, you know, racist, angry losers when people obviously gave you a ton of valid criticism for the, you know, associating with Hassan and the crew and, you know, orchestrating this whole content cops and shit like that, stealing money from charity. These are all like valid criticisms towards you, but you always like to completely deflect and, you know, target the incels, the racist, angry losers, the faceless chuds. And this is a reference to SlopTubers again, by the way, because if we know in the past, she did the same criticism where she was like, oh yeah, these faceless commentary channels are just, you know, they'll never have a consistent audience because, you know, they're only interested in these topics or whatever. But yeah, it's been 7 years at this point. I mean, better than your career, it seems like. People responded, I'm a married homeowner with a good job and children on the way, and I'm obsessed with you people because you're so disgusting. It's like watching a rotting carcass get eaten by vultures on sweltering asphalt. You literally live in your mom's basement. You should be the last person talking about crawling out. How's life in your basement judgment while you shake it on OnlyFans? I'm not the broke one here, lady. But you're broke. What happened? Are you talking about? You failed every endeavor you've ever pursued, and now you're back to selling yourself for $20. Maybe you should crawl back to whatever hole you've come out of and reconsider your life choices. Oh my god. You're pathetic. I'm a leftist with a STEMS degree who's been married for 13 years with a wonderful kid and partner who cared for me through chronic illness. You fantasize about us being terrible to justify ignoring our criticism of your shitty behavior. Nope. You're definitely an incel, loser, unemployed, broke, reject, faceless reject. That's what you are, obviously. It seems the reality is actually that being a liberal beta and a regarded hoe is only good for quick internet points. You won over some absolute losers. In exchange, you crashed out your husband's entire career, any goodwill he has with his community. Enjoy hell, lol. Lol. That's a great response. Somebody posted the old school Ethan meme of getting triggered. It's so good. Her pinned tweet is still this one, by the way, where she's pretending H3 actually likes them, even though this was like way before she even got community noted. Why would you keep up your pinned tweet as a tweet that got community noted, correcting what you were even talking about? That is just embarrassing. Comment was made when Ethan Klein still supported Anisa and Idubbbz. This fell apart after the CPS call, obviously. Anyways, we got some Idubbbz updates as well. Idubbbz' ex-trainer called him out a few months ago, said he would be willing to train Dad, aka Nathan, for a future fight. Dad had earlier challenged Idubbbz to a fight before being blocked. I would help train you, Nathan. I can't believe Ian said he would fight again, and he's for sure lying, but if Misfits could get him to sign, I would for sure train you to beat his ass. Oh my god. How does everybody Idubbbz work with absolutely hate his guts? Anyways, we also have this clip of Idubbbz banning AB from his chat. This is, you know, Ethan's coworker on the podcast. Ban him and block him.
Also, if AB's in the chat, ban him. If AB Starkill is in the chat, ban him. Ban him and block him.
Oh my god, that is a broken man, bro. How pathetic is this? Bro, I would not ban him. I would savor that one viewer, that extra one viewer. It's really counting when your stream is that fucking much of a flop. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is playing WoW while his girlfriend is on OnlyFans, relaunching her OnlyFans, probably making out with gorgeous Gabe on the side, maybe Hassan as a entree or something. This is tragic, bro. No amount of therapy is fixing this, all right? Bro is truly and utterly in every every sense of the word, lobotomized. Absolutely legendary fall off. Okay, this will go down in history, legitimately. Moving on to the Hassan versus Destiny situation. Basically, after Hassan threatened Ela, Destiny responded saying this stuff. Even the Nazis weren't this blatant. This is so far beyond the pale, it's actually unbelievable. I honestly think you could perfectly justify, I'm not even gonna say it, you know, Hassan IRL for statements like this. Does anyone have a link to this video directly? Now, I completely disavow this. I've said multiple times, Destiny is completely unhinged, all right? You know, I don't support this guy. This guy's crazy. So anyways, Hassan responded, posted a YouTube video saying this is too much in regards to Destiny and liberal death threats because they want to defend Israel. The Trump admin is pushing America towards imminent collapse. Meanwhile, I'm getting death threats from people who claim to be liberals because they want to defend Israel. And he's posted this is too much. And, you know, I think it's perfectly fine for Hassan to actually call this out. Right? Destiny is pretty unhinged. I've talked about this numerous times. But it's just so hypocritical after you did essentially the same thing to Ela, right? So I just don't know. It's like, it's very hard to take him seriously at all when he does the same shit he criticizes other people for. He has every right to call it Destiny's regarded comment, but it's so mother-flippin' disingenuous to make it about Israel because that wasn't the case of the situation, but what people are perceived. Dude, it is in his benefit to make everything about Israel-Palestine because that is the most emotionally charged conflict. Okay, people care a lot about it, and Hassan is just this perfect master manipulator. He will make every single situation. Ethan responds, Hassan doesn't like death threats. You would think he would be a fan of those, but apparently not when it affects him. The major narcissist finally cares and finally realizes this is super unhinged. Rules for thee, but not for me. Every video, it fits perfectly. Wow, that was like a rhyme. Oh my god. God, I'm good at this. Holy cinema. Moving on to Ethan calling out Philip DeFranco for not criticizing Hassan enough and sort of riding the fence here. Basically, quick context, Hassan, in my opinion, threatened Ela saying that she's a valid military target, and he was jumping between past and present, you know, trying to have that plausible deniability when talking about her. So Philly D covered the story on his news channel, but Ethan did not really like the coverage here.
We know.
I don't even know what.
We know.
I don't know what part of it you're talking about.
We
the thumbnail?
know Philip DeFranco is a Hassan dick rider.
I don't know about that. In
He's
fact,
always
I
reporting
didn't
on
see
him.
his reaction,
He's
but
always
I
giving
heard
him
Hassan was very upset by this video.
I was too. But
Well,
that's just because
that-
Hassan's
it sounds
a
like
fucking
he's doing his
crybaby.
job.
Because Hassan's a crybaby bitch boy, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Like he has to be the victim.
But the fact that Twitch did nothing
Yes.
Yes.
is
Yes.
unlevel amount of despicable.
Zero
Yes.
surprise to me.
That is
Despicable.
disgusting.
At the very least, Philly should have said it's very dangerous.
People are so afraid of invoking the wrath of Hassan and his online leftist community. We have lost sight of what is sane and normal. This
Yeah.
comment's interesting. I love how Phil sits on the fence over Hassan Klein's situation. Truly marvel of our time.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is not one of those situations where you really want to fence it because it's a very clear-cut situation that you should have no problem really taking a side unless you sort of, secretly have some ties with one side or, you want to agree with them. But I also completely forgot about the fact that Twitch never banned Hassan for actually saying this. I don't even expect it anymore. I'm kind of done demanding Twitch even ban Hassan anymore because it's legitimately never gonna happen. Okay, we can stop dreaming, we can stop pretending Santa Claus is real here, all right guys? It's never gonna happen. Never forget that Hassan has a death grip on Dan Clancy's nuts, all right? And he likes it, he loves it, he loves that. Okay, I need to stop. But yeah, you get my point, all right? That's never gonna happen. So this next part, Ela calls out Philip DeFranco as well, and usually, she's not gonna go this hard on somebody, but she's starting to get a little frustrated at how blatantly, obvious the situation is, yet people cannot come out in support for them because they're afraid of being labeled a Zionist or, an Israel dick rider or whatever the hell Hassan labels you as. If you ever dare speak positively about Ethan or, at least say that they're right in this situation, right?
I'm getting tired of this because people think that if they do say anything positive about us, they're like a Zionist. And I think that is why Philly is avoiding talking about
hedging.
you unless there is a two sides to it. And it's on the one side, you got Ethan. On the other, you have Destiny. You tell me what you think. It's f off. Mind you that I've always spoken against settlements before this motherfucker even knew what that was. Okay? I've always been against it. So shut the fuck up, Hassan, and go learn something before you talk about other people's business. Now, when people say, "Oh, she just did mandatory service," he's like, "Oh no, it was way more than mandatory. She volunteered to go into raids."
Participated in this raid.
No, it was just mandatory service.
Yeah, you were a secretary and you went on a ride along.
And I was a secretary. Don't rewrite history. I'm not gonna sit by and let people rewrite what I did and what is my life. It was mandatory service, and I was a secretary. 20 years ago. Now I'm an American citizen. You got a problem?
Yeah, I think I'm starting to see the problem here. Philly's coverage is usually super like, hey guys, what do you think about it? And he usually just asks his audience, right? And, you know, that's fine. I have no problem with that. And in general, it's like very like, you know, left-leaning sort of coverage. Again, don't really care about that. But when you talk about Ethan versus Hassan, if you're being neutral or whatever, it's just not a good look. You know, usually that's always a fine thing to do. But there's just no good way to attempt to be neutral here without looking like you're covering for Hassan here, right? I compare being like a terrorist supporter to being like a PDF file because it's like, it's that level of bad, I feel like, okay? At least you're not the one explicitly doing this stuff, but come on. It's like, I feel like we're putting it very close to that. So then if it's like PDF files versus kids, imagine, right? And you're being neutral in that situation, I think it's like, well, I think you gotta pretty much show support for the kids at that point, right? Obviously, weird comparison there. I'm just trying to make you understand how like blatantly obvious it is that you should be disavowing Hassan here, right? I don't feel like it's very complicated. I don't feel like the average reasonable person is gonna stop watching your show if you disavow Hassan, unless of course you got Hassan supporters in your audience, which is something you need to evaluate. And gonna be honest, I think he's sort of pulling a Ludwig, a good old Jellywig maneuver when you're basically just sort of covering for him. Like, it isn't a very complicated situation. It's very simple, straightforward. Yes, Hassan is a fucking terrorist supporting freak. You should probably be calling him out. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Now, another issue they had with the coverage was that Philip DeFranco immediately brings up Destiny versus Hassan, right? And Destiny is such a massive idiot for this because by, you know, saying those unhinged comments about Hassan, he gave him a chance to cry victim when he was, you know, Hassan was 100% in the wrong for saying this about Hila. But now Destiny comes in and says some more unhinged shit, and that gives an opportunity for Hassan to cry victim and be like, wah, they're going after me as well. And, you know, Hassan will take any opportunity to make him look like the good guy or whatever, which is why Destiny is a fucking idiot, honestly.
What the law is right now.
You had Hassan arguing that he wasn't even trying to give an opinion. He was just discussing international law and acts of resistance. With Hassan then also claiming that many people were taking...
Come on. Why? Like, you can't give me like a... we're not stupid.
He's like, you know, Palestinians have the right to resist. And, you know, there was someone 20 years ago that went on a ride-along who escaped justice. It's like, what?
To remark out of context, and that he by no means was trying to condone or encourage violence against Hila Klein.
There is no point where I have said violence against someone who is not actively in combat is permissible. I don't believe that. That is illegal.
No, but what you are saying, you are saying that she did commit a crime punishable by death, and that she escaped justice.
Definitely actionable, I'm pretty sure. It's also weird that this guy gets to have a YouTube account. Like, that is a...
Bro, you've done this so many times. And again, everyone gets up in arms when we're like, oh, stop counting the... Why isn't Twitch getting him in trouble? Why is people still sponsoring Twitch? The minute he gets an opportunity, he's like, this guy should not have a platform. This is a legitimate death threat. It's like, you are such a fucking coward. You are dishonest. You lie, deny, deflect, attack. You said it yourself, and it's exactly what he does. And you see it. The man never apologizes. It's against his mythos.
Oh, absolutely. This is so cringe. He has never apologized. You know, can someone actually show me a clip? I've been covering Hassan for a while now. I have to do my research. I have to look up, you know, clips of him, look at streams of him and stuff like that. And I have not found a single instance where this guy has admitted he's wrong ever. How? It's crazy. This guy's just a straight up narcissist, it seems like. And I feel like this was the perfect opportunity to show that you're not completely psycho crazy like people say you are. Such a blatant, easy opportunity to say, hey guys, I messed up. You know, I shouldn't have said that. You know, I'm not actually, you know, talking about that. You know, I made a mistake there. I shouldn't have mentioned her name. I know some of my audience can be a bit psycho, you know, But then no, he couldn't do that because then the cult would start wavering, right? And as the cult leader of the Hassan audience here, in order to be a perfect cult leader, he has to never waver, okay? Always double down. Make sure everyone thinks you're always in the right? Because then they will start thinking for themselves if you ever admit any wrong. And I just find it insane how this whole thing is playing out. Like, how can he actually get away with this by completely shifting the focus of the conversation to another thing like Destiny, which is completely unrelated to Ethan and Hila's situation, right? So it's just insane. He completely lies about Hila like this, says this absolute unhinged shit. He even doubles down later. It's just absolutely crazy. Now, if you remember in the previous videos, basically Hassan was calling out Ethan for admitting, quote unquote, admitting his wife is a terrorist, right? Which he never did.
Ethan Klein has admitted that his wife is a terrorist on stream.
Basically, they were having this debate or whatever in which Ethan curb stomped this guy. And yeah, he kept basically asking, is your wife a terrorist or whatever? And Ethan got frustrated and he just said it as a joke to like sort of shut him up because he kept interrupting the debate and stuff like that. And Hassan ran with that, which is just absolutely crazy.
Ethan Klein himself has on numerous occasions agreed with that sentiment.
This is the most insane fucking lie. He keeps saying this too. He goes, oh yeah, Ethan agrees. She's a terrorist. And he's referencing during our debate when he wouldn't shut the fuck up about Hila being a terrorist. And I roll my eyes so far, it looks like I'm having a seizure. Somebody grabbed a screenshot. And I'm like, okay, bro. Yeah, she's a terrorist. Can we move on, please? And he's like, Ethan says she's a terrorist. And by the way, early on in the conversation, because I went back and watched all this stuff, he asked me if I think Hila's a terrorist, and I say, no, obviously not.
Yeah, I mean, that is so absolutely disingenuous. It is completely crazy. By the way, this is the same guy who talks about context, guys. We need the full context. I can't believe these guys are clip chimping me. I can't believe these guys are leaving out the context, guys. You need to watch all 500 of my 10-hour streams. That's the only way you can get the full context of what the brilliant mind behind Hassan Piker. And then he keeps spreading this like, oh, Ethan admitted his wife was a terrorist. Dude, you can't be fucking serious. That's absolutely crazy. You're completely leaving out all the context. Again, obviously Ethan should have never even said that or entertained that as a joke as well, because obviously Hassan and the bad faith audience is gonna clip that, you know, use it and constantly reference it over and over and over again. But I just find it interesting. This guy claims to care about context. This is hilarious, man. Now click this video or you're stuck with a woman like Anisa forever, dude. You cucked. You cucked. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.